Hey, Mega Mom.
It's Jessica, Randy, and Stephanie.
And we are Real Estate Mega Mom.
We are top producing agents, coaches, business owners,
and busy mamas leading a community of hardworking real estate agents
who are learning to master faith, family, and real estate.
Our podcast is dedicated to sharing the real and raw stories of raising families,
growing and scaling real estate businesses, all while living a Jesus-centered life.
Most importantly, we want to help mamas just like you build a business and life they love.
And prove that success can be achieved without sacrificing balance. So join in as we talk all things mom life and real estate. Good morning, Mega Moms. Jessica Hensley here. And this morning I am with Sarah Hilton. Hey, Sarah.
Hey, Jessica. Hey, everyone watching. I hope everyone's having a great Monday.
You know, I love Mondays. I'm like a weirdo. I feel like I like new beginnings, fresh starts. So, and I love meeting with my team. We do our team meetings on Mondays. So Mondays are like one of my favorite days. Do you like Mondays?
I'm a dork too because I like Mondays.
You do? Okay, well, good. Yes. And you're your first child. So I mean, I feel we have a lot in common already, Sarah.
Yes. Yes. Maybe it's an older child thing.
Maybe.
Just some structure going on and all that.
Yeah. So we want to hear about you. So this is Mega Mom Mega Success, and this is where we interview mega moms that are in our group that have raised their hand and said, hey, I fall into that category. So we love hearing from moms across the country to hear how you have success, how you're balancing your family. I know you have 3 kids who are all at home right now.
Yes. Poor planning on my part.
Wow, you didn't know.
Yeah.
I mean, you signed up like in August. Well, you
yes. I should probably check the school calendars once in a while, but I just let it surprise me.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So tell us about your business, Sarah. Where are you located?
All right. Well, I am located in Charlotte, North Carolina, right on the very northern tip of Charlotte. I've been here for 14 years. I'm originally from New York City, so I still say I'm those obnoxious New Yorkers that have to say that.
I can kind of detect the accent because you don't sound like somebody I would expect from North Carolina. Because don't they have like a Southern accent?
Yes, very much so. So if you're from here, you very much have a Southern accent. I still say like coffee and all that stuff. So I give myself away pretty quickly. But I love it here. I mean, I came here to kind of raise my kids and never look back for sure.
I've never been to North Carolina. It's on my bucket list. I want to go to the beach and so
it's a cool state. Beaches, mountains, everything kind of within 3 hours of each other. And Charlotte's a pretty big city. I mean, it's hard coming from New York City, but I needed somewhere with like concrete and skyscrapers and all that. So we got a little bit of everything here.
I love that. So 14 years. How long have you been selling real estate?
I've only been in real estate since 2019. I started in March of 2019.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I worked for one company since I was 20 years old. I started, depending how old your viewers are now, I started back in the day before Facebook was even like a big thing. I was managing our websites, and then that grew to our intranet sites, which grew to managing all of our social media platforms. And this specific company, I managed pages with a combined audience of about 15 million people. So a lot of work. And I was at the same place for 15 years. And they needed everyone to move on up to Philadelphia, and I wasn't going to go. So that's kind of where I faced like, what should I do? And I didn't want to go. I'd been working from home all those years. I didn't want to go. This was before working home was like a big thing before Corona. I didn't want to go back into the office. So I was like, let me do something flexible like real estate.
Oh, funny.
Yeah.
So what made you think about real estate? It was just the flexibility, or did you have somebody that you knew that was in real estate that kind of inspired you?
Yeah, I mean, when I was little, when we were growing up in New York, we moved a lot because we lived in apartments. And there was a period in my life where we moved a, a few times a year. And that was back then my dad used to take us to the actual real estate office, and she used to show us all the apartments. And I thought it was such a cool job even at that age. But the other thing was like I'm very much a people person, so I knew I wanted a career where I can control my time and my income, but I also needed to be around people, because I that's kind of how I like fill my tank, you know. So I think it was just a blend of those things that kind of led me to where I am now.
So I bet that your background in managing all the social media accounts and the internet or the website that you
Yeah,
developed,
yeah,
that probably really helped give you a good solid footing for real estate. How
yeah.
did those skills transfer and, how did you set yourself up for success?
Well, it's funny because when I first started, since it was completely different from anything I'd been doing, at first I was listening to what the gurus said to do, right? And making calls and door knocking, or just making a list of 100 people, and that kind of stuff. And I did try that, and it ended in frustration for me because I wasn't getting business. I felt like I was, sitting in open houses every weekend and not really able to convert. And finally, there was like, I think my first 6 months, I had 3 deals, and I was mad about it. So then after that, I was like, you know what? I know how to market, and this is a very different industry, but I'm just gonna market the way I know how. And I also had to kind of like put my pride to the side and not worry about what people thought about me. So really the first big thing I started doing was I started like a talk show on my Facebook channel, and it was called Real Estate Coffee Talk, and I spelled coffee like the New York way. And it's crazy. I probably should have been more consistent with it, but for a good amount of time I was. And immediately I started picking up business. And it was like people weren't even, some of them I was like, this is a dud because people weren't commenting or engaging. But then they would just message me and be like, hey, I need to move. Can you help me? I don't know where to start. Or hey, we need to sell and buy. And they were all like, I saw your videos. You're so crazy. By the way, I need to, and they were just coming to me instead of me having the whole scripts down and things like that, which I'm just naturally not good at. So
Isn't that crazy? I mean, how many times I'm the same way. I'll do a live and
yeah,
then I won't get a lot of comments. I won't get a lot of likes.
yeah,
And so I'll feel the same way like, man, I really bombed that one, or man, is this even worth it? And
yeah,
then the next thing I know, I'm getting a message. It's like people want to sort of watch in the background, kind of watch what you're doing. And it's a good lesson. I
yeah,
mean, you never know who's watching, and just rest assured people are watching, right?
yeah, yeah. And
So
it's a
so
lesson in being consistent as well,
Yes,
because
absolutely.
don't give up at first because you don't feel like anyone's watching, because people are always watching.
That is good advice. So, how did you structure the coffee talks? Like, did you interview people? What were your topics about? How did you structure that?
No, so what I did at first, I did do a couple of interviews, but it was tougher to manage because you had to make sure someone you interviewed really had a good personality for interviewing, and then you had to edit and go there and line up with them. So I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna like be able, again, first child problems, right? Let me have something that I can control. So the way I structure them was I really just started coming, and I really wasn't even that experienced in real estate. That was the other thing. So I didn't have a lot of transactional experience to talk about. So instead, a lot of them were talking about like what our contracts look like. In North Carolina, we have something called due diligence, and it's a non-refundable fee that doesn't exist in most of the country. So things like that were relevant for people to understand. And just talking about stuff like that. Hey, what's the best time to sell according to the data? Another really good way to do that is I would look at like Google search information, which would tell you how people were searching for information. And I would just basically regurgitate that back to them in a video. So that's kind of where I grabbed my content from at
What
first.
was your topic that you put in the Google bar? Was it like real estate in Charlotte, North Carolina, or how did you?
Well, yeah, so there's a website called answerthepublic.com. If you, I'm sure you know about it, but if you just put, I would put like buy a house Charlotte or sell a house Charlotte, and then it would populate like 70 different questions or statements that people were searching for that topic on. So, for example, like, can I sell my house without a realtor? Okay, so now don't be afraid to confront that statement, right? So, can I sell my house without a realtor? Or how much are buyer commissions? Or just questions like that. That would basically, I'm telling them what they need to know before they even ask.
Yeah,
Um,
that is genius.
yeah,
So you probably picked up some of that from your previous job. I'm
yeah,
assuming.
yeah, because when you're managing pages with like millions of people, you have to it's twofold. You have to give them content they're going to engage with, right? Because it has to be interesting. You have to know your ideal client. Whether it's in the industry I was in or in real estate, it's all the same, and just kind of message to them. But on the flip side, it's also so important to know that you don't have to come up with new content every week, every month. A lot of it is just repetitive. And we use templates in my old job all the time. If we would do one post one month, the same exact post next month, and we would get just as many people engaging with it, right? So I kind of took both of those things and I was like, all right, if I'm gonna keep talking about the same thing, that's what we're gonna do because this is what's working. And that's it.
Yeah. Well, and
Easier.
what is it like they say that somebody has to hear it 7 times, I think,
Yeah,
before it really sinks in? Because 'Cause we're
exactly.
so afraid to repeat ourselves or, we're worried we're gonna run out of content. I mean, real estate is one of the most interesting
Yeah.
careers and fields really out there, and it's something that really impacts almost everyone's lives. Even if they're a renter,
Yeah.
they still are curious about the process, or maybe there's hacks you can share on the renting side, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, there's so much you can talk about, but I like
Yeah.
that idea of just repeating, sort of having maybe 4 or 5 core messages.
Exactly.
I will say, like, as a coach, we have learned that in our industry, that is actually what you should be doing, right?
Yeah.
Because it takes people a long time to really understand what you're all about, you
Grasp
know?
it. Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
us, we're real estate moms, we are Christian. Our
Mhm.
mission is to help moms be successful in real estate without sacrificing time with their family. And then how do we do that? First, we help them get a good business in our inner circle, develop that great business, and then we help them build a team. So we have really two main focuses. How do you
Yeah.
build a core business and how do you build a team? Right?
Yeah.
You don't have to be an expert at everything. So
Yeah.
I love your marketing. That's kind of your background.
Yeah. Yeah. And the same thing, like I in the marketing world, we call them like content pillars, right? So if you're looking for real estate, it could just be like, you know, inspire, like what I tell people is like inspire, educate, all those things, entertain. Like my personality, I'm outgoing. I like to make people laugh, right? But you got to build them around you. But if I kind of try to build my stuff around those three things, it's like you said, real estate is an endless bucket of content, right? So inspire, educate, entertain. It's like so easy to be entertained in real estate, right?
I
And
love that.
then inspirational thing, I think once you start people may not once you have those buckets, it's very easy to start putting content into those buckets. Whereas sometimes if you're at a model home filming it and you're like, I don't know, like, why should I do this? That falls into inspiring. It turns in because this is what people want,
The
right?
lifestyle,
Yeah,
you're showing
lifestyle.
them what's possible. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you can educate them on how do they get that? How are, um, new construction contracts different than residential contracts? A lot of people don't know that. That's a huge untouched thing. And so many people complain about their buyers going directly to the builder, or maybe the buyers they haven't been able to get their hands on going to the builder. And the reason why people do that is because they think it's easier. But a lot of people don't understand that these builder contracts are crazy.
Yeah, it's
So
like going directly to the seller and letting somebody, who is experienced, most sellers
exactly.
aren't experienced, but the builders are,
Yeah.
negotiate against you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you just frame it like that to them, it makes no sense. But for the average person, if you haven't educated them on it, and that's why, like the marketing and the videos are so important, because you educate them before they come to you, because people are thinking of this. I don't know, you probably know from a sales perspective, but how long are people thinking about moving before they actually, make the move? It's likely 3 to 6 months minimum in advance.
Yeah.
So you got to be in their ear.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, make them aware of your brand before they make the decision, because if they're
Yeah,
making the decision, it's too late.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
So tell us about your business. What does success look like to you? I saw that you've sold over 6 million in the
Yeah.
last 12 months.
Yeah. So, I'm newer to this game. I think I have been in periods where I've been really overwhelmed, where my whole weekends are, chasing buyers around and all that, and missing out on my kids' stuff, which stresses me out. And then I'm angry and no one it's like that. But I think success looks like to me being able to find the sweet spot of providing for my family in the way that we need, or the way that we want, that maybe we want some extras, or I have college coming up, so it's like, oh, I better sell a few more houses, and then but also being able to be there in the way I want, and that's different for every mom. Like we're all different, but I just want to be there for those moments, because like when I was young, my mom passed away when I was very young. And so she wasn't able to be there. So I really want to like maximize as much as I can that time. And I'm willing to sacrifice some income if I have to for it. So that's kind of like the way I've like framed my business. Of course, I would like it to grow and be a little bit more consistent than it is now. But I had like, for example, in the spring, I closed like 4 deals in May or whatever. And that's not for like mega agents like you, that's not a lot. But for me, I was like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And that spring is also when my youngest is playing t-ball, my daughter was in softball, and I was really mad that I missed out on so much. And so, but the great thing about this business is that I was able to close all those deals and just take a little bit of a back seat in the summer, because it worked for me and my family and the way I mother.
Yeah.
But that's what I like, is you can kind of mold the business to what works for you and your family, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so you have I was going to tell them the ages of your kids, because
Right.
as you were speaking, I was thinking, that's so true. It's going to be different for
Yeah.
every mom, every parenting style, but also different for each stage that you're
Yeah.
in, because don't have teenagers yet, so I
Yeah.
can't speak to this, but I assume
Yeah.
when they get into that stage, you're like, they kind of want less of mom
They
around,
do.
you might have
So
some more time
depressing.
to do.
Yes, so mine are, 16, 14, and 5, right? So the 16-year-old, he's definitely in that stage where he doesn't need me much. I need more of him than he needs of me at this stage. So I'm not so worried. If it was just him, probably, I'd be a lot more hands on, like busy, because I won't be so worried. But my 14-year-old, she's the only girl, and she just like likes me there a lot more, and I'm kind of like in charge of all her sports stuff. And the 5-year-old, of course, like he needs me just because he's 5 and he's cute and mom is everything, and I know how fast that stage goes. So I've been trying to be a little bit even more all in than I was when my older two at that age, because you just know it, like in a heartbeat, it flies. So
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
sounds like you kind of have them across all stages and,
Yeah.
and I love that too. Like, Randy, she has and, Stephanie too, but they
Yeah.
have older kids that are married, and Randy actually has grandkids. And
Oh,
if you don't know, Randy's one of my business partners.
yeah, yeah,
Stephanie Stockberger is the other one.
yeah.
And they're like, "Nope, spend time with your kid," that, and I think that's one reason, we're so passionate about our mission here at Real
Mm,
Estate Megamoms, because real estate really can mold around your schedule, just like you said. I
yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
but you have to be intentional with
Yeah,
that. I mean, it can really take over your life if you're not really intentional and strong with your boundaries and willing to say no. And like you said, sacrifice income, because no commission check is worth missing out on those milestones,
exactly.
in your kids'
It's
lives.
important to you. And there's so many people I've talked to, like people who've been top agents like a while ago, who will say, like, I wish I would have maybe just spent a little time. When you're in it, you're doing it for your family, right? So it's not like we're doing it to make a less money for us. Obviously we're all doing it for our family. But I just, was I wanted to be intentional. And it has taken me, even though I've only been doing this 3 years, it has taken me a little bit of time. In the beginning, I was saying yes to everything because everything is a possible paycheck. But as you work and as you commit yourself, then you'll work yourself into the position where you're like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna refer this buyer out, or
Well, something you answered on the questions
yeah,
when we were like doing our pre-interview,
yeah,
you said that you work with just a select number of clients.
yeah.
So tell me more about that, and how did you determine what that number is and what that client looks like?
So I don't have like a hard number in mind, but I know that based on the personality of the client, how much I can possibly take before I am a miserable person to be around. And before, in the spring, I think I was managing a few very difficult, well, two difficult clients and transactions. And I got physically sick twice because of the stress, which again, you've been doing this forever, but it was the stress of appraisals coming in 50,000 under, someone being mad at me, and then it was combined with the stress of I was missing out so much of my kids, so that was kind of riding on me, and I think that's why I got sick. So it's not so much a number, it's how much of like my tank I can dedicate at one given time. If I know I have a more difficult client and then someone coming in, I now that I know what the business is, I can evaluate, can I really take this on, or is it going to be worth it? I mean, really, that's the question. Is it going to be worth it? Sometimes it is. Sometimes if I know that it's not, or some previous clients I've had that I know like I definitely just can't work with them again, then I can like refer them out.
So how do you handle that, like bowing out gracefully?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you do?
So like there have been two people, like I had one in the summer where I was like, listen, I'm kind of taking a little step back this summer, but I don't want you to be underserved. So here's an agent I work with well, she's going to handle you. And I just frame it as this is the best for you, because in reality it is the best for them, but it's also the best for me. Um and those things, because there are times where I'd just rather get the referral fee.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So that's just kind of how I have framed it. Now there'll be certain I would say difficult clients or difficult transactions are, they happen less frequent rather than more frequent. But sometimes it's what you said. It's just being able to set those boundaries, because if you're going to be self-employed, if you're going to be flexible, it's because you are creating that flexibility. Um,
Yeah.
and that's what I've been working on, or else I can only blame myself. That's pretty much, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, yeah, you definitely you teach people how to treat you,
exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
if you let them text you at 11 and 12, and the way you let them do that is by responding to them,
Responding. Yes.
right? And
Which
then they
I've
think,
done
"Oh,
so many times, because you want to be
yeah,
the good agent, and it's hard in this. in the world that we're in, with how fast technology and media moves and communication, it's going to feel very uncomfortable at first to set those boundaries. But you just kind of have to scale back and be like, do I want to be looking at my phone at 11 o'clock at night? And if I am, I'm gonna be watching dumb TikTok videos. Like, I don't want to be responding to people about what was on the inspection report.
Well, and I think the truth is actually people respect you more when you have boundaries like that. They really think of you more as a professional.
Yeah.
You know, if you think about it, they're not texting their CPA, their dentist, their attorney, you know, other professionals. And I think we have really undervalued ourselves as an industry. I hear it so often, and especially from new agents.
Yeah.
You can call me anytime. I'm available 24/7. I'm like, stop doing
Yeah.
that.
Yes.
Stop doing that, because you're running yourself in the ground. You're really hurting the reputation. And, you know, here's the thing. I'm not going to show up as my best self
Yeah.
at 11 o'clock at night or 11:30 at night when they text me, because why are they texting you at that time? Most of the time it's a crisis. There's something that's wrong. They're upset. Maybe they've been drinking. I've had this happen before.
Yeah.
You know, they get a couple drinks in and then
one of those.
yeah, text to complain. And, you know, I'm tempted to just like pop off, right? Because I'm
Yeah.
not thinking in my normal state.
Of
But
course.
if you just kind of step back and respond during business hours, it's better for everyone.
Yeah, that was some advice I had actually gone from my husband, because he's been in sales for 20 plus years. And he would say, he was like, you can't jump when they say jump. He was like, you look, this is such a New York term. He was like, but you look thirsty, right? Like, you look desperate. And he was like, when I get on a call or when I get a lead, if somebody, he's in a different industry, but he's like, if someone wants to set an appointment, he was like, I don't care if I have nothing going on that day. I'm going to tell them, hey, all right, let me look at my calendar. All right, I have a spot between 10 and 11 and between 3 and 4. And he's like, just make it up if you have to. But your schedule should be wide open for anyone, because people don't value that level of work. You know, they almost expect to have to hurry up and fit themselves in where they can.
Yeah, and if you're available all the time, sometimes that's a red flag to the
Yeah.
more experienced client. They're gonna be like,
Yeah.
why is she available? That
Yeah.
means she must not be selling very
You
much.
have no clients.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard in the beginning because you really are. You're thirsty to
Right.
make business. But I kind of started putting that into place. Like,
Yeah.
and it would be funny because I'm like, let me look at my calendar. I have nothing going on tomorrow. But you know, in my head, I'm like, maybe 1:30. You know, I can fit
Well,
you in.
and that's why we teach our mega moms to have a consistent calendar and have a few things in place that you basically make a commitment to yourself. And that may be like lead gen, it may be, you know, calling past clients, it may be marketing research or just posting your social media or whatever. Like, you know, there's always something that should be on your calendar. And besides that, if you're a mom, you know, you have all kinds of stuff scheduled and, you know, planned with your kids.
Yeah.
That's something that really changed my life. I would say about 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
I started like I live and die by my calendar because I have appointment types. I've really trained my team, my clients in both industries, real estate and in my coaching business,
Yeah.
to use my calendar. And the thing is, if I don't put my personal stuff on my calendar and my client has booked me, then I'm double booked, right? And then I look terrible. So now everything I want to do goes on my calendar, and it's changed my life.
And I think I love that you said that, because one of the things I noticed, or like when I talk to people like the video marketing and all that stuff, is that if you don't set up that time every day and be consistent about what's going to happen. So, and I'll tell you, because it happened with me. I was posting all those videos because I had so much time on my hands, right? Then what happened is I started getting busy and doing actual business. And if you don't set aside that time, then all those things that you work so hard to be consistent at are going to fall by the wayside. And when you finally come up for air after your closings, you're going to realize like, oh no, 2 months went by. I didn't post one video. I didn't do any lead gen. I didn't do anything. And now it's going to take me another 2 months to like dig up more people again.
Exactly.
So, and it doesn't, like when it comes to your marketing, a lot of this stuff can be scheduled out. So just set aside a day or a morning, but don't miss that appointment.
Yeah, that's great advice. Man, I feel like we could talk another 30 minutes. So we'll just have to have you come back on. But if they want to send you referrals to Charlotte, North Carolina, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. How can they find you?
Probably the best place to find me is on Instagram. It's my handle is My Charlotte Living, or you can look me up on Facebook, Sarah Ortiz Hilton. Sarah Hilton's pretty common. So if you put in all three of those names that are showing up on your screen, I'll come up. But yeah, those are the best ways to reach me.
Okay, I love it. So I always like to ask a couple fun questions and maybe thought-provoking questions. So
Yeah.
we'll wrap up our podcast like this.
Okay.
So Sarah, what are you binging right now? You can be like reading, watching, anything.
Okay, I'm a weird murder show person.
What you're a what kind of show?
Murder show.
Murder show. Okay.
Anything murder show-ish. So the thing that I was binging, so I'm big into podcasts because you're on the road a lot, but I'm
Yeah.
constantly listening to them. So I've been listening to this one called The Letter, and it's about a murder that happened in Utah, but pretty cool short podcast. And then I'm a weird I am just flagging myself as a weirdo, but there's a YouTube channel called Long Crime, and they have live trials. So I've been just listening to one of their trials in the background.
It's really interesting. I kind of get into that stuff
I think
too.
it's so interesting. Yeah.
If it's too gory, I don't know. Sometimes I can't do it. But in our team meeting this morning, my showing agent, she was like, I was into this Jeffrey Dahmer.
Oh yeah.
Netflix. So I'm like,
I haven't started, but I've been seeing like the tricklings of people talking about it. I was like, that's up next.
yeah. Okay, so the last question is, what is your definition of a mega mom, mega success?
I guess my definition would be being able to be everywhere you want to be, but feeling fulfilled in both areas. When people say like moms can do everything, I think that's almost like a harmful thing, because it's hard to do everything well, right? Sometimes someone said it like, sometimes you got to choose which bowls are plastic, which things you can let drop, and which are glass and you can't let drop. And mega mom, mega success would just be being the mom you want to be to your children, and then being the agent or the team leader or whatever that you want to be, and being able to say no on either side if it's not going to like mesh with what you want. I mean, a big thing I did this year was stop feeling guilty about not cleaning my own house, and I hired like a cleaning person, and it's amazing.
Hallelujah.
Yeah. It's like I felt so guilty, and then I'm like, why? If I have to work, I mean, I'm helping someone else be her own mega mom, right? And it freed up not only time, but like mental space. Like when I come home and I'm like, this is my therapy. I don't need a counselor. If the house is clean, I feel better I feel like a better mom that the house is clean,
Yeah. Oh, I
So
love
things
that.
like that. And that's, cleaning is a plastic bowl I could let drop and let someone else handle. But the missing out on their games and stuff, to me, is a glass bowl. So
Yeah.
just finding what works for you and not kind of defining about what other moms are doing.
Yeah. So good. It was great having you today, and I enjoyed getting to know you a little bit
Thank
more.
you, Jessica. You too.
So Mega Moms, we'll see you next week at 11:30. Bye.
Yeah, bye.